watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Caitlin Poindexter. Each week we discuss topics important to our diverse community. Art is one of the oldest means of communication and expression, and in a city like Memphis, art can be found everywhere you look, whether it is in a museum or on the side of a building. This week, we are talking to three artists who use different mediums to express themselves. My first guest is an award-winning portrait artist whose paintings are so lifelike, the people depicted in them seem to breathe. Here to discuss her wonderful artwork is Glenda Brown. Miss Brown, it is so exciting to be able to speak with you today. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for contacting me.
I had a chance to look at some of your paintings, and they are absolutely breathtaking. What inspired you to become an artist?
You know, all the time I hear that, and I hear so many people that have all these phrases, and they have all this terminology that sounds so great, but mine came just almost from the beginning. Like I either wanted to be a veterinarian or an artist. Wasn't smart enough to be a veterinarian because I love animals. So artist won out, and it just seems like no matter what I did in my younger life, it always gravitated toward art. Just somebody would contact me and ask me to do something, and I've always loved it. It's almost like you've got just a real bad itch, and you want to scratch it, and you scratch it and it continues to itch. Well, that's the way art's been with me, just wanting to always, just having a passion always to do it. It was like my best friend sometimes.
Well, what exactly is your method? Do your subjects just sit there while you paint them, or do you like to take a picture instead?
Usually I take photographs because children will not sit still. I do good to get my photographs. And, you know, they're just pretty much wiggle worms. But I have painted from life. I painted from life for almost 5 years, 4 nights a week. I also go on location, and I love to plein air paint. It's like you get out on location and you have a whole different feel than a photograph. Nothing beats painting from life. But in the business that I'm in, I do have to know a little bit about photography to be able to get the exact image that I want to get.
But this is not something you do in a day. How long does it take from the initial meeting with a client to a delivery?
I usually tell them it'll be close to a year, right around a year. And I do work on more than one painting at a time. I have worked on as many as 15. But that's pretty much a very full year.
Well, about a year ago, the pandemic changed everything. Did it change the way you do your work?
You know, the pandemic didn't even faze me. Because I work alone somewhat, I would go out with the mask on my face and all that, but as far as like the way I feel, it never affected me. I turned my TV off. I didn't watch TV, so I didn't hear all of the negative stuff that was going on with it. And I just stayed really busy creating.
Well, you have had a very distinguished career as a portrait artist and have been recognized on several occasions, including winning grand prize at the American Society of Portrait Art in Montgomery, Alabama. What did that win do for your career?
It boosted my ego like nothing I've ever had because, I was just really studying and struggling at that time, but it made my career boom. It came out in the commercial appeal. They told us to put it in the commercial, and they came out and they took photos. And my little 1 or 2, that's when it started 7 to 8 to 10 portraits a year. And I would set up at local festivals. And I've had a really good life of doing portraits and doing other paintings.
What important lessons have you learned from doing years' worth of paintings?
No matter what you do, you continue to keep striving. If you think things are tough, just the tough get going, you don't ever quit. Even when you think that in your heart, you think, oh gosh, I'm so tired, or I can't do this. You never, ever quit. There's things that I've missed, family functions, because I'm out trying to sell my work in my younger years. Always being totally honest and working as hard as you can. And it sounds kind of selfish. At one point I had somebody to say, do you even have a life? Yes, I do have a life, but I've put my art first quite a bit, but I always try to make time for my family. I love my family passionately, but I love my art too. And it's just something they've just, everybody expected it because it's just always been with me.
Finally, if someone wants to get in touch with you to commission a piece, is there a website that they can go to or a number they can call?
They can go to my website. It's Glenda Brown in Glenda Brown Studio. I've got 2 accidentally. And I work with Portraits Inc. out of Birmingham, Alabama. You can contact Portraits Inc. Locally, there is a lady named Elizabeth Francis. Portraits Inc. website is just Portraits Inc. Google Portrait Artist and Portraits INC. And I'm exclusive with them. You can see me on Facebook, Instagram. My phone number is out there on my website, Glenda Brown, or glendabrownstudio.com.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I definitely look forward to seeing more of your work in the future.
Thank you so much.
We've got to take a break. When we come back, we will talk to a graphic designer whose company is changing the Memphis art community. You don't want to miss it.
Texting and driving, honestly, it's not that worth it. Put your phone down.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. When you hear the term graphic design, does a computer pop into your head? The art of graphic designing actually dates back thousands of years, but the term originated in the 1920s print industry. Here to explain how graphic design influences us every day is Jeremiah Matthews from Crosstown Arts. I've always wanted to learn more about graphic design. Thank you for talking with me today.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Well, graphic design is truly everywhere where we look today. Can you give a little background into how it has evolved?
Well, graphic design originally started as more of as for advertising. So it was basically people around turn of 19th to 20th century, people started to want to advertise their products more as industrialization happened. So it turned into how to take visual images, striking visual images, and attract attention and communicate the worth, the value of a product to, everyone around.
And why have we as a culture come to depend on graphic design?
You have to think of it as like a communication thing. In the same way, words that's expressing or what you mean, you have to find the right visuals to communicate to people. So we rely on like cycling symbols, bat symbols, street signs, anything like that. That's a form of graphic design. So we need visual cues in order to make sure that we understand how things are going on in the world, like a shorthand, essentially.
Well, can you talk through what all a good graphic design can communicate?
Well, I mean, it can communicate almost anything, really. Like the way type works on the cover of a book, you communicate what kind of book it is. On the cover of an album, on the cover of a movie, it can tell you, like, you can get a strong vibe of what it is, what it's about, just from looking at the way the layout works. Or, on the other way of looking at it, you can do the exact opposite. Like you can take, I don't know, you could take like a Bon Iver album and do it in like a heavy metal font, and people will think it's a joke, and it's very funny. You can communicate that. You can communicate nutrition facts. You can communicate anything. Honestly, there's a lot.
Well, what type of background or education do professional graphic designers need?
Well, typically you would go to a four-year university. You would go to a four-year university and you get a bachelor's degree. But it's a unique field to where while a degree is preferred, your ability to do it is more important. So if you have tons of experience and you have a good portfolio, you can probably get farther than someone with a four-year degree who has neither of those things. So it's a good mix of education and a good mix of a lot of hustle. Getting out there and finding work and doing it, and like good portfolio, good resume, good education.
Well, we think it is important to stress that there is a difference between graphic design and digital art. Can you talk about these differences?
Oh, easily, yeah. So graphic design uses a lot of digital art. Nowadays we make everything on a computer, essentially. But the difference, though, is digital art can be seen as like you can paint a picture on a computer, you can draw something on a computer, you can edit a photo on a computer, all these things. But design is more about the philosophy behind what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to communicate something specific, then it becomes graphic design. One of the older definitions is that it's when an image and type start working together to create a single thing, to create a message, essentially. But design is more, I would argue, it's more utilitarian. It's more something that, like, you're trying to take this message and communicate to people, whereas just digital art it can be anything. It can be self-expression. It can be purely aesthetic. It can be anything.
Well, you work as a part of Crosstown Arts, which is such a wonderful organization. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, Crosstown Arts is really cool. I've been here a little over 2 years. Before that, I was a resident artist for Crosstown Arts. I did some music for them. And basically, Crosstown Arts is really neat because it's a nonprofit in the middle of Midtown, straight in the tiny little Crosstown neighborhood. And the whole thing that we do is we're trying to give people that don't otherwise have access to art, to music, to art, to theater, to writing, to performing, to all these different things. And we're trying to give them a free way, a mostly free way of getting in there. We also do events and stuff that, you got to keep the lights on. But we have free gallery spaces. People come in. We have tons of awesome theater performances. We have youth groups and like youth theater programs and all these different cool things. It's just like we want to get the community involved in a way that makes them feel like it's theirs. But also it also keys them into some high art, some low art, some everything in between. It's nice.
In what ways does Crosstown Arts engage with the public?
Well, like I said, we do these free events. We have two gallery spaces where we let people come in and see these things for free. That in other places it might cost money to see these things. Sometimes big name artists, sometimes local artists. One big thing is, like I mentioned before, we have these youth programs where we get kids to come in here, and we've done entire video productions. Justin Thompson, our video guy, has filmed entire movies with high school kids, like writing and directing these things, starring in them, everything from ground up. He's an excellent video editor. And then we have residency program. So we have that brings in artists from all around the world and local artists and pairs them together, gives them places to work, gives them everything they need to get things done. And they get to mingle, they stay connected, and it helps a lot that way. But then also, I think that we're really just trying to get the immediate community to feel comfortable coming into Crosstown and just kind of experiencing these creative endeavors. We have music, we have art, we have theater, we have performances, we have, when the pandemic's over, we have a cafe and a bar and all these other things, and we just want people to feel welcome.
Well, if someone is interested in taking classes or accessing the materials at Crosstown Arts, or just have questions about where to get started, how can they get in contact with you?
Okay, you can go to crosstownarts.org. It's excellent. There's a bunch of stuff on there. You can get into all of our different programs. You can get into, you can contact, there should be a contact thing on the website that we can get in touch with our events coordinators, our community outreach people, everyone that will either look on the calendar on the website, or you can hit them up and they'll help you.
Well,
we also have social media and stuff too, so all that. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, thank you. No, you're perfectly fine. I look forward to seeing how the Crosstown facility continues to develop. Thank you for having this great conversation with me.
Oh, anytime. This has been lovely. Thank you.
We have to take a short break. When we come back, we will hear from an artist who is using her skills to help the community.
Stop! Did you know college debt is the second largest type of consumer debt in the U.S.? Why? Because the required interest paid on student loans causes you to give more than you receive. So why not prevent taking out student loans altogether? Learning how to manage your money is a great way to solve that problem, and there are many tips online to get you that head start. Don't wait until you're drowning in debt. Make college affordable now.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to this week's Crosstalk. Art has the ability to bring a community together. No matter your age or skill level, it's an activity you can enjoy. The program Creative Aging gives seniors access to art at no cost. Here with me to discuss the program is Cindy Ledger. It is so great seeing you again. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Caitlin.
You have become skilled in so many different types of art: interior design, creating collages, craftsmanship, and so much more. How did you become involved in all these types of art?
My degree is from the University of Mississippi, and I graduated with a BA in interior design through their art department, so I had to take all art classes. So I've always loved it, always enjoyed it. I was an interior designer for a while in Dallas, and then later in Memphis, and then I started, my husband and I started our family, and so I kind of got away from it for a while. I volunteered at school and was a Girl Scout leader, and so I was doing crafts that way. I always did something sort of artsy. But I didn't really, until my daughter graduated and went off to college, I didn't really go back to feeling like, an artist. I had been doing interior design or craftsy kind of things, but I went back to painting and collaging and mixed media, and just really found it was something that I wish I had been keeping up with all along. So,
Can you talk in depth about the training you received in order to create all that you do?
I think people think that when you go to school for art that it's really easy, but classes are generally 6 hours long instead of 50 minutes long. They're studio classes where you're working, and like anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. I think you don't learn to play the piano well unless you practice. You don't become a better singer unless you sing every day. So I think you can, but it's one of those things like riding a bicycle. You sort of come back to it. And if you're inspired and you have a passion for it, it just all comes flooding back.
You mentioned that you spent time working on lobby displays. In 2018, you won Best Front of House at the High School Musical Theater Awards for your innovative artwork in the lobby of St. Mary's production of Beauty and the Beast. These photos of your artwork have been shared all over the region by how astounding it is. What gave you the idea to cover and layer antique furniture with newspaper?
Well, the theme of Beauty and the Beast, she's a reader. She's being picked on because she likes to read. So I went to Habitat for Humanity and bought some used pieces of furniture at a very limited budget, but it was kind of fun because it makes you become more creative. And I found an old book that was falling apart, but the pages were good. The spine was falling apart. It was, and I think it was a dime. And I covered all the furniture, a table and chairs and a clock and a candelabra, everything, all the little iconic things that are part of Beauty and the Beast. I covered with the book pages. One book did all of it, and so it turned out. It turned out that people enjoyed it and they liked it and they started sharing it online. So it was kind of a neat thing, and it was really exciting to get nominated. I couldn't believe it when I won. So that was kind of neat.
Well, not only did you gain attention from this work, you gained recognition when you hosted your own gallery exhibit at Playhouse on the Square. Can you describe this experience?
Yes. Playhouse is so generous. Every year they do an art auction. And if you donate a piece of your artwork, they will allow you, if you put your name on a list, they go in order, they will allow you to do a showing of your work sometime during the year when space becomes available, which is just really, really generous of them. In fact, they're just about right now, they're getting ready to start the auction again. So people ought to go online because some wonderful artists in Memphis donate to this. And so they're not having it in person this year, but you can go over there and look at the artwork and then get online. So I would encourage everyone to get online and see some of the beautiful artwork and bid on it, because the money goes to Playhouse and Playhouse on the Square. And later during the year, when you go to see a show there, the artwork that's on the wall will be different artists in different sections of the lobby. So it was a lot of fun, and they allow you to sell your work at that point. If you've donated a piece to the auction, then when your time frame comes up and you're able to have a showing, you can sell your artwork. And I mean, it's just very generous of them. So they support the arts all the way around, not just theater. They're supporting other types of artists too, which I think is really great. It's nice of them. So I did that a couple years ago. Of course, they weren't able to do it last year because of COVID, but they're doing it again. And this time they're putting it online. So that's kind of neat.
Well, we could talk a little bit about Creative Aging, which is the organization you mentioned earlier, just where it's an opportunity for seniors to have an outlet through creating art. What clued you in on that there was a need for this type of outreach?
Well, as I said, I met Judy Gray, who's on the board. She's an amazing actress and a fantastic vocalist. And what they do is Creative Aging, through grants, they're a nonprofit, through grants, they hire actual artists, singers, dancers, musicians, and they make it available to area senior citizens. And it's just a nice way to emphasize that connection that people feel getting out. Some people live in, and are a little isolated when they get older. And so it's really nice that they provide these things. And sometimes the dancing is performance. Sometimes it's getting them moving a little bit. But my classes are all obviously hands-on. We provide all of the supplies, so they just show up. And my classes are generally about 2 hours for 4 weeks on the same day of the week, hosted by, like I said, a senior center or the library. And all you have to do is show up. I've got everything, and so we start collaging, and we paint, and we stencil. And we use inks, we use acrylics, we stamp. So you come away with, and I always create something from exactly what they're creating something from. So I will start with gessoing the board, but I'll gesso my board, my board, and then they gesso theirs. And I demonstrate on mine, so I don't really, do it for them. I show them how to do it. And when they're done, they've now probably touched on at least 6 to 8 really neat mixed media techniques. So, and they like it. They like it enough that a lot of them have taken it more than once. So,
Well, for all the budding crafts people out there, how can they reach out to you?
well, you can go to creativeagingmidsouth.org, and they have a list of all of their classes.
Well, this was such a wonderful conversation. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you, Caitlin. I enjoyed so much. Thank you.
Again, thank you to Cindy Ledger, Glenda Brown, and Jeremiah Matthews for coming on the show and sharing their passion of art with us. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we are streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Caitlin Poindexter. From all of us here at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.